Welcome to the Worlds Cooldown presented by State Farm. My name's the Tigress, and I am joined today by the wonderful Crumbs and Alorum. Crumbs, you were casting yesterday. How was that?
It was fun. It was a bit rusty, but the game between V3 and Unicorns of Love was so high-feed. I really loved that one. That was the one where Kassadin had the great escape. I guess it's now going to rival Xbecca's Backdoor as one of the greatest international Kassadin plays of all time.
Wow, that's big talk, too.
I guess. It looked good.
Quite a statement there. Alorum, you're a few time zones away from us over on East Coast. How has it been watching the Worlds from this experience?
Well, I've been up all night, and I can tell you I'm loving it. These Worlds games have been bangers. They've been such great games. They've been wild, and it's what we can expect from play-ins, so I'm just glad that all the teams are all in on this and giving us some quality entertainment.
And if anybody missed out on that entertainment, we've got you covered on Cooldown, because what we're doing is covering everything that happened today, as well as some of the biggest moments. So warning, we do have spoilers for Day 3 starting now. Because Group B, they were put to work today. LGD bringing back the hopes of the LPL fans, offering an upset to kick things off. And of course, we had some tiebreakers to round things out here at the end of the day, meaning that PSG Talon are the first to make it into the group stage. Unicorns of Love securing that second spot for themselves to continue battling out, as well as Rainbow 7 and LGD Gaming. If we're looking at this, Crumbs, what would you say was the biggest upset in your opinion?
I just think the entire story of PSG Talon has to be the biggest upset. The fact that a team with 3 subs was able to top the groups, considering that you had powerhouses in Unicorns of Love that barely dropped any games in their own region, and an LGD being hyped from the LPL. At this point, I don't want to even hype LGD anymore. They barely survived, but PSG and Talon in general is just such a cool story. Subs first in their groups. Where else does that happen?
Yeah, Alorum, I mean, seeing that happen where the subs are coming in and having this performance, but that offers kind of a weird lens on the day in its totality, right? Because things were pushed to the limit with having a couple tiebreakers to boot.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Crumbs that it really is just a crazy story for PSG in general, and we're wondering now, are they going to get better with their main members when it comes to the group stage if they make it there, right? But I've really got to shout out Rainbow 7 because I'm so happy for our Latin American brothers coming in and getting a lot of upsets. They've been doing really well. I think they're probably my favorite team to watch right now, especially Jose Diodo. I love that guy. I can't get enough of his gameplay. He's great. It's been a lot of fun.
It's rough being so involved or interested in Latin America and hoping that they succeed, and over the years you just see it again and again. They never really get to go anywhere, but this team, Rainbow 7, is the renamed of the most dominant Latin American team of all time. If you took all the respective regions, nobody has won more than this team. They are just completely destroying the competition, and finally seeing them at least have a glimmer of hope in a solid game today was really such a breath of fresh air, and it just makes me wonder, like, could it actually be the year that Latin America goes far? Please.
A familiar organization for fans of Latin America, even though some of the players themselves have been making their debuts within this year and the past. But another team that has been put to the test today was LGD, and lucky for us, Lori's got a quick word with Peanut.
안녕하세요, Peanuts. Thank you for joining me. You guys made it in the end. You managed to bounce back when it mattered. So tell me about your run and what was difficult about play-ins.
네, 정말 중요한 순간에 이제 돌아오는 걸, 회복력을 다시 보여주셨습니다. 그러면 이제 이번 플레이인 여정이 좀 어땠는지, 또 어떤 점이 가장 어려웠는지 한번 말씀해 주세요.
저희가 잘했던 것들을 다 까먹은 기분이에요. 뭔가 이제 전판 같은 경우는 이제 그나마 저희가 네 번째 판 이제 UOL이랑 할 때도 전령을 너무 신경 안 써서 원래 저희가 전령 탑이랑 미드가 솔로킬 따가지고 전령을 먹을 수 있었는데, 또 그런 거 이제 하나를 알면 또 하나를 까먹고, 하나를 알면 또 하나를 까먹고, 그러니까 다시 기억하면 하나를 까먹고, 약간 그런 식이 돼서 안 좋았던 것 같고요. 그리고 그러니까 지금 판 말고 네 번째 판 UOL 판은 제가 너무 못해가지고 너무 그게 좀 마음에 걸리는 것 같아요.
So, I mean, I think we totally just blanked on what we were good at. So I think we forgot everything that we were really good at. So for the UOL game, for example, our top and mid got solo kills, so we should be rotating for the Herald, but we totally just forgot about the Herald existence, and also well, all about the game that happened in UOL. I just underperformed so bad. It stays in my mind right now.
Oh, I'm sorry for you, but I mean, yeah, as I said, you guys managed to bounce back in the end. And yeah, team fight has been an issue. We'll leave this one for the analysis desk. But I am wondering about the format here for the LPL, because you guys have been used to playing in best of 3 series the whole year. So how different is it switching to best of 1s?
네, 그러면 이제 한타적인 문제도 조금 이따 이제 분석 데스크에서 좀 다룰 예정인데, 그럼 이제 다른 질문을 또 해보고 싶은 거는 이제 사실 LPL에서 활동할 때는 1년 내내 이제 3판 2선승 포맷으로
네네.
진행을 했는데 지금은 이제 단판제를 하고 계시잖아요. 그런 점은 또 어떤 식으로 좀 다르게 다가오나요?
네, 오랜만에 단판제라 확실히 그런 건 있었던 것 같아요. 부담이 좀 없진 않았는데 이제 단판제잖아요. 단판제니까 그 부담감 때문이 더 뭔가 없지는 않았던 것 같습니다. 그런데 솔직히 다 변명이고요. 뭐 다 핑계고 다 변명이고 그냥 제가 이제 실력이 모자라서 졌던 것 같아요. 네.
Yeah, definitely. Because we only got one shot, I think we got even more nervous. So that kind of affected our play. But, well, to be honest, I think those are all just excuses. And I think the level of our skill shots and the skill level of our performance was the main issue.
All right, well, something to keep in mind. But okay, let's switch the topic to the game itself. I want to talk about the jungle, because it's the position in which we've seen the most champions. 15 junglers have been played so far. Lots of Nidalee, lots of Hecarim. So what do you think about the meta in the jungle, and do you expect things to change throughout the tournament?
네, 그러면 이제 경기 내적인 얘기를 조금 여쭤보고 싶은데, 이제 이번 롤드컵에서 지금 정글에서 제일 챔프폭이 넓게 나타나고 있어요. 총 15개가 지금 픽이 되었고, 뭐 니달리, 헤카림, 뭐 에코 등등 정말 많은 픽이 등장했는데, 이제 시간이 지나면서 이제 롤드컵을 통해서 조금 이런 픽이나 메타가 좀 변할 것 같은지, 어떤 식으로 진행이 될 것 같으신가요?
사실 헤카림이나 이블린 같은 경우는 이제 저희가 선발전 마지막 부분에서도 조금씩 나오다가 뭐 다른 지역들 뭐 여러 지역들에서 나왔었는데, 사실 이제 롤드컵을 모든 지역들이 모이다 보니까 저희도 시도해보고 괜찮다 싶은 팀들은 이제 시도를 하는 것 같고요. 확실히 헤카림 같은 이제 이블린 같은 픽들은 약간 좀 조커 픽으로 잘 사용할 수 있는 것 같고, 헤카림보다는 그래도 이블린이 좀 더 좋다고 생각하고 있어요.
So for Hecarim and Evelyn, those were the picks that were looked at the end of the regional qualifier at LPL as well. And Worlds is about the combination of all the different regions here. So we saw a lot of different teams picking those 2 champions. So some teams are trying it in the playing stage as well. And I think, well, Evelyn is better than Hecarim in overall.
All right, well, we'll see how things evolve here at Worlds 2020. But thank you very much for the interview, Peanut. And thank you, Jason, as always, for the translation.
Thank you.
And back to you guys.
Thank you, Laura. So great to get those words from Peanut. 1, saying there are no excuses when it comes to your success or failures. And 2, getting that insight when it comes to 15 picks that we've seen from the jungle.
That's really impressive. The fact that there have been, 18 games? 15 uniques. It's the jungler's paradise here. No longer are you contesting for a few picks. You can play whatever you want, as we've seen players bust out Silas and Echo, but these champions are not at the top of anybody's list for a good reason. They're quite difficult to execute and have a lot of liabilities, so the team really needs to help you out, whether it's with a leash or just having a set plan for you to get ahead. So it's at least cool that the junglers are getting this much love right before the season ends, and then the whole jungle is changed again, and suddenly you got to start from 3 champs again.
Every jungler's dream, the end of the season.
I'm very excited to get some deeper thoughts from both of you on that and the rest of the meta as it's developed here at Worlds. But first things first, there were a lot of other things happening alongside these jungle picks today. So it's time for us to review some of our favorite moments from the day. Alorum, what you got for me?
All right, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I love this guy, Jose Diodo. And he's popping off every time he gets a kill. It's the Jose Diodo true combo of getting a frag on Evelyn immediately into adjusting yourself on the seat, brushing back the hair and then looking for the next one. I love it. He does it every time in the camera. I love seeing that little smirk on his face when he gets the kit one shot on Evelyn. It's really great. That's definitely my favorite part of the day.
Might be like Samson. He gets his power from the hair.
Right? Yeah. Oh, so good. And it makes you that much more appreciative of his pop-off because it also meant more emotional reaction in his seat immediately afterwards.
I love how animated he gets. He's just all over the place. He's moving around.
It's Latin America for you. We gotta dance.
One of the many reasons why I'm always excited when a Latin American team is coming through because there's a lot of personalities that come through as well. Crumbs, you got one for me as well.
Yes, so Captain Flowers was casting earlier today, and if you've been watching or listening to Captain's cast, you know he absolutely loves Skarner. He can't stop talking about it. They locked him in, and finally you think, is this going to be a Skarner game? Turns out Skarner was just getting abused left, right, and center. This Skarner could not catch a break. And it's just really funny to see that the one time that this actually ends up happening, he has to hide the sadness inside and realize that he's just getting one shot everywhere. Even Azale had a nice tweet to say.
What a great tweet.
Perfect display of him hiding his sadness. And if you were watching that game when it happened, I know us in the virtual green room when Skarner got locked in, it was such a loud reaction to it, you know, very emphatic, very excited, but then he had to suffer for the rest of the game as Skarner just got ripped apart. But you know what? There's somebody I don't want to rip apart. I want to commend him because my moment of the day goes to Sheepy for his style, the coach of Unicorns of Love. Because of the ample amount of time in the summer of 7th grade I spent watching Project Runway, I feel I have the authority to say that this man has been styling on the stage. The fit is great. The pattern on the black is just such nice detail. Complete flames.
Can we see it again? Can we see the walk? Maybe a walk back? Like,
He's got
right?
that swagger walk
dude,
to him.
we were talking about, I feel like, you know, if you watch a lot of space shows, there's always politicians in space. Like, I feel like he's dressing up like he runs some important planet doing intergalactic business. I'm like,
he's on his throne at the beginning, right?
Exactly. That's a throne outfit.
Tim Gunn told him to make it work, and he did. Alorum, you have been watching the game so far. I do want to give you an opportunity to pull a moment from play-ins throughout the entirety of the first 3 days. What stood out to you?
All right, so I want to shout out Babip in specific because he had made an appearance last year on Mammoth, and he had these teammates that were superstars. He had Fudge, right? King, Triple, and Destiny. All 4 of them went abroad, but Babip, poor Babip, stayed in OS. Not that that's a bad thing, but some people could infer that meant he was the weak link of the team. However, I think this year he has grown a lot as a player. His DPM has increased by 300. His damage percentage increased from 8% all the way to 27%. He's been taking a role on the team that's more carry oriented instead of relying on those hard carries that he had before. So I'm really happy to see him back again, winning the OPL and just showing what he's got in Worlds. And so far he's been doing a good job, and you can see from the stats how much he's improved. So big applause to Babip for coming back and making a statement that he was not a weak link on the old team of Mammoth, and that now in Legacy he's doing a great job and he can really make a big impact in the play-ins.
So what I'm getting out of you is that if anybody's looking to import more Australian players, this is the guy.
I'm liking Babip. Coaches, watch out.
Spawn is somewhere saying, please, no.
I'm sorry, Spawn.
Yeah, we got to hear from him here on Cooldown and noting a lot of the changes that have happened with these players, and it's great to see other ones step up. Babip being down with the sickness in his play. But I'm going to ask y'all to get down with the quickness, because when it comes to the game of League of Legends on the world stage, sometimes it comes down to a split decision to make the difference between a win or a loss. So we're going to be honoring those fast mechanics in Every Second Counts, powered by Cisco. So we've got a play here. We already talked a bit about the Evelyn that we saw earlier, Crumbs, and here was a sneaky one.
This is so clutch to just immediately flash onto an unsuspecting Senna because they had no idea what's going down, and then the rest of the team so quick with the collapse, being able to protect everybody else. Here's where Alistar really gets to shine, and what you love to see about this whole play is that the Lucian ends up roaming down as well. He shows up, he wants to be a part of it, and that's what Worlds is about. A play happens somewhere, you gotta ditch, you gotta go, you gotta show up because you need to be involved, you need to start playing with your team. That's what the rest of the team is counting on.
You got to make it work here. And one thing that I do want to dive a bit more into, we just saw that clip of the Evelyn, so I think it's a great time to start opening up the meta discussion. And first things, we did hear from Pina earlier talking about the fact that Worlds is great and that you have these different regions coming together to create this Worlds meta. Let's touch on the jungle discussion that we started on earlier.
So the junglers, there's been, what, 15 out of 18, so tons of variety there, but there's quite a few that have been heavily contested. The Lilia and the Nidalee, the AP junglers, with insanely fast clears and very high mobility, have been taking Worlds by storm. Everybody's trying to play these champions. It's what everybody was practicing, because at the end of playoffs for every region, they slowly realized, hey, these picks, you gotta play. But Aloram, you're the one that tells me that jungle diff starts from lanes.
That's right. I'm sorry to all the laners who say it's jungle diff in all of their games, but I'm telling you right now, as a top laner myself, jungle diff begins from lane diff. And these are carry junglers we're talking about, so you better get that crowd for them, because they will pay you back in big dividends if you do. I promise you that if you pay attention to your jungler when they're on these carry junglers, especially things like Nidalee, Graves, Hecarim, the Evelyn, they will reward the team in ways that will get you the dub every time. And it's really just a carry-centric meta in the jungle, so you really do need to be playing around your jungler these days.
If I'm playing Nidalee, I'm going to build an Athene's Holy Grail and help you out for that Scuttle Crab
Right.
3 minutes 15, so thank you.
And along with that is the top lane pool, right? So we have these carry junglers, and the biggest ones are Nidalee and Lilia currently, and those are AP junglers. And right now, the biggest top laners contested are Renekton and Camille. When you are able to get that physical damage threat along with the AP jungler, it makes it a much more difficult task for the enemy lanes to 2v2 you, as you can't build in your runes any resistance in specific to their champions. So you're just going to have to deal with one of those types of damage, and that's why those picks are so contested currently.
And
Go
those
ahead, Crum.
picks are really nuts. Camille in particular seems to just be something that nobody's able to really deal with thus far. She is being blinded, she's being countering into tanks, and just this last game, we actually saw somebody try to come up with an answer with another bruiser in the top lane. It was Langjin with the Jax into the Camille. Now, V3 did not play a good game at all, and it wasn't a good Camille, but still we're starting to see that there are starting to be answers to what the original meta was, which was these AP junglers and then the top lane physical damage, Renekton, Camille. So hopefully we can start to see the meta developed and a little layer on top of it of the counter, then maybe we can see another one as groups ends up developing.
With what we have seen, this variance in the jungle clearly having an effect on some of the picks that we've seen in top lane. But if we're going over to the bot lane, while there has been some variance, Aloram, we also see some picks that were pretty consistent prior to Worlds.
Oh yeah, we're getting the Ashe every game. It's really just the best AD carry you can pick right now. One, because she has such great engage. Ever since Varus got nerfed, there aren't many AD carries that can serve as that secondary engage. However, Ashe is the one that can. So if you need extra engage on your team and you don't have an Ornn or a Scion or some sort of hard engage, Ashe is the perfect pick for you. And Crumbs, as a jungler, I'm sure you hate Hawkshot. Tell me about it.
Okay, yes, I can keep going about Hawkshot forever. First of all, why do you get 2 charges and it costs no mana? Busted. Secondly, incredibly long range, and it lingers in vision wherever you basically chuck it at any part of the map and you see the entire camp, so you can know when camps are spawning, you know what the jungler's route is, and if you're playing these carry style junglers that are trying to get ahead through pathing, you now have an entire roadmap of what their next moves are going to be. So the junglers that know how to track their opponents better can just call for the Ashe, hey, give me a little bit of extra help here with the vision. Bam, now you know what to do. You can avoid ganks, you can make better informed decisions, and what looked to be just a regular engaged support is offering another layer of utility from the very beginning of the game.
She's got Clairvoyance as the extra summoner spell all game long.
And when your jungler's out there trying to carry, the hawk shot can look hella scary, but there's some other elements that have also been pretty scary from the bot lane. Pretty consistent in seeing these engaged supports that have made a huge difference, Alorum, when it comes to the team fights.
Oh yeah, like you're not seeing any Ardent Sensor supports this patch. It is all engaged or pseudo frontline. You're getting the Rakans, the Nautilus, the Leona, you're getting Thresh. It's just all of this engage is so important in the game right now because a lot of it is about snowballing these junglers that need to gank and get ahead. So having this engage in the lane sets up for easy, for example, Nidalee Spears, which is one of the biggest abilities to hit on in all of the junglers, right? So if you have some sort of CC, Nidalee needs the setup, and you're not going to get that from a Lulu or a Janna, but you can always get that from a Leona or a Nautilus.
And having these engaged junglers is sort of the same idea behind picking the same kind of champions during playoffs that we see throughout the world. You want these champions because you need your support to be able to play make. If he's sitting back, not being able to face check, not being able to punish the mistake of somebody being out of position, you're letting the enemy get away with too much. And right now, the teams don't know who they're up against entirely, right? These are new opponents for everybody, so you need to have the tools in your arsenal and your champions to be able to see them misstep and immediately punish. If you're playing Karma, if you're playing Zyra, Yumi, whatever you're doing in the bottom lane, you're just trying to win through the laning phase there, but then they can just run around in your face in the team fight all by themselves, and you're not able to punish that. So having these champions allows you to always capitalize on the enemy's misposition.
And Crumbs, I'm curious to get your opinion really quickly, where we've seen this Worlds meta start to develop with 3 days of gameplay, but all of these teams, only a couple of them will be moving on to the group stage. Do you expect there to be another moment of volatility as we add additional teams from those other regions coming in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So much more is about to come because these are the playing teams, right? These aren't even the ones that are setting the meta in their own regions for the most part. We do have the first seeds in quite a few regions that are doing that, but for the lower seeds, they're nowhere near the trendsetters. So the fact that we have the #1 seeds then pouring in is going to change things drastically because a lot of matchups that players might be taking might just be completely different skill matchups through these other players. So a big one is the Lucian. I think Lucian did not see a lot of priority here in play-ins, but that's because we don't have very good Lucian players. If you went to groups, guarantee you Lucian is going to skyrocket because you've got some insane Lucian players there.
So much more to look forward to with Worlds, and more to look forward to here on Worlds Cooldown. We're stepping away, but after the break, we'll see you then. Welcome back to Worlds Cooldown, presented by State Farm. FLICKR here, joined by Crumbs and Alorum. But between our regularly scheduled games today and the tiebreakers to boot, a lot went down. So we're here to catch you up on everything that you missed in our segment, Was Sleeping, Didn't Watch. Put the timer on the clock. Crumbs, you are first up to bat. What the heck went down in V3 versus LGD?
All right, so we started things off at 1 a.m. and LGD was the team that had so much to prove, but they realized we're struggling a ton with the team fights. Let's lock in the Ornn and just build a very standard composition. Whereas V3, they hard all in early game. Lee Sin and Renekton, the top side was not able to execute. So by the time that LGD got to the team fighting phase, it was already with a gold lead, and it was much easier to execute. It was a bit of a disheartening loss for V3, considering how close they had played games yesterday, but this one really was rough. The Ornn was actually able to solo kill Renekton, and so all these fights that you're looking at is just a team that doesn't have any way to team fight against an incredibly beefy front line, against a really fed Kindred and a Syndra, and it was the look that we kind of wanted to see out of LGD, but they made a lot of mechanical misplays, and the same thing with V3. So despite their win, having the soul, they looked like it was a very difficult win to close.
That was LGD bringing back the hope for the LPL. Game number 2, Rainbow 7, Unicorns of Love. Alorum, what went down?
All right, so you already know what it is. I talked about it again and again. This is the Jose Diodo show. It's the Evelyn frag session. And really, Unicorns of Love was looking like they were going to be pretty dominant in the group, and Rainbow Seven had a pretty bad first day. So they really came into this game with this whole new strategy of just getting Jose Diodo fed, which he was doing all right before, but this time is a completely different story. You're watching the montage right now. Someone put on the music. It's crazy how well he's doing, and along with that, you see Shadow with the flank. An incredibly good Alistar flank sets them up for this teamfight win, gets them the first kill, comes for the flash headbutt again, get more kills, and after this, it's 23-4. How can Unicorns of Love possibly win this game? They just snowballed this game to oblivion, and they were on Snowball Champions. Stuff like Alistar and Evelyn can force the fight so well that it's just, once you get the train rolling, it does not stop.
A true remix of all of that Evelyn play. Game number 3, though, we had another one, Crumbs, PSG versus V3.
Yeah, PSG playing around the mid 2v2, and here was Uniboy actually joining the roster. We hadn't seen him yet, and him and his jungler were able to do so much work. A big problem for this game, though, was the fact that V3 had a pretty abysmal crash. You're running Galio, Silas, Leona, and Renekton, all champions that want to get in your face in melee range against none other than Kindred Ornn. These champions are going to completely demolish you, so despite V3 trying their hardest, the compositional disadvantage made it so easy for PSG to just pop off. They've had some solid wins from draft alone, but this one was capitalized by the execution of the mid 2v2. Because they are first in the group, you need to watch out for these guys. They're going to be playing mid 2v2 harder and with very aggressive champions, maybe more so than other teams in groups already.
Next game, though, that we have was the second appearance for both of these teams of the day, Unicorns of Love and LGD.
All right, so we already know that LGD has not been having a great time in this Worlds, and I just don't see flow in this team, and so they've brought it back to their ways, and Unicorns of Love had some pretty bad mishaps in this game, as you see that their laners are getting solo killed, but what Unicorns of Love did is that they have the Twitch. If they can scale to the mid game, then they cannot lose team fights, and I have to kind of criticize Peanut in this game that he really did not play well, and especially on the Lilia, which seems to be one of the biggest picks in the entire tournament, and I think this is the second time Peanut has played Lilia, and it's his second loss. 0% win rate on Lilia, OP champ. I'm not buying it, LGD. I think I need to see a lot more out of this team if they want to get through. And Unicorns of Love, they're just looking great, and I'm really glad that they utilized the Twitch in the way it's supposed to, and that they were okay with, even if they made mistakes early game, that Twitch was able to come back and carry these fights. Gadget,
We do
good
have
job.
2 more, though. Gonna cut you off right there. You got in there in the final second. Tiebreaker
right.
number 1, Unicorns of Love,
All right.
PSG.
Tiebreaker for first place. This game was hyped because these were the 2 best teams fighting for number 1 spot, and Unicorns of Love was off to a great start. They were picking on Lilia again, maybe not as OP as Aloran was saying, but then they were finding picks on the gangplank left, right, and center, and this was the second time they looked for it, and suddenly PSG was actually ready to collapse. The Orianna finding the pick on Ziggs makes it so easy, and then they overstayed. They keep walking forward. Unfortunate slice and dice for the Renekton. Would have died anyways, but then PSG gets the Baron. They're getting the confidence back. They're winning team fights. The gold is back to even. The lead that Unicorns of Love had for the most time, and then they find an amazing engage. This is the game-winning play. Rakan into Lilia with Gangplank on top of it. It doesn't get any nastier than that. Boys, if you're going to rewatch a game and start from any game, I'd recommend this one because these 2 teams are quite likely to be the ones that advance from Group B into the group stage.
Crumbs put the stamp of approval for that VOD review. Anybody that wants to catch it. Final game of the day, though. We had V3 LGD, 1 team officially sent home.
All right, so I'm really glad that LGD is bringing it back in this one because they were really, supposed to be favorites in this, and V3 just not the greatest game. I think this was pretty simple because LGD had lanes that were counter picks. So I think Jax does really well into Camille. It's a great matchup in the early game and the late game. Orianna outfarmed Set. He was maybe 20-30 CS throughout the entire game. So it was really lane difference, and then LGD just had solid team fights all around. They, not once did it look like a team fight was not going in their favor, and Jaya had such great Orianna ults this entire game, and so it really was just team fight difference. It wasn't that difficult of a game, it looked for them. They took their time and just waited it out and won their team fights. It was a pretty simple victory, not much to it.
And I think V3 did show some moments throughout their performance in play-ins that inspired some hope, but unfortunately for them, they are the first ones that we will be saying adieu to here in play-ins. PSG Talon securing that spot as #1 within Group B. Now, I think it is time for us to go ahead and review some more moments, but in a bit of a different fashion, because I'm going to ask you all to offer some best and worst moments of the day. If you're going to give me something good, you got to give me something bad too. Alorum, what are you going to kick us off with?
All right, so I want to take a look at the Yorn. Top lane from LGD. Come on, man. So this is the good. Okay, we're starting with a good one. So first, he's hitting the 3-man ult. He gets all of them in the Kindred ult, which sets up for a really easy Bard queue and an easy cleanup. That was the good one. Now here's the bad one. They're dancing around Dragon this whole time, and Braum says, thank you, man. I'm gonna gladly eat up that Orn Horn. Thank you very much for the R. I'm saying any Orn in the world knows that you should be saving your R for later, and you should not be using it straight into the Braum shield.
Was that your cat?
That was my cat.
Nice.
You need to go down.
A flash of a cat.
I knew it. I was like, what is that? That's got to be a cat.
At least we got a bit of a glimpse of it. But yeah, we saw some good and some bad from that. Braum says, stand behind Braum, and you get rewarded in that moment. Alorum, I think you got something else for me, though. Let's talk about draft. What do you think was the best and the worst?
All right, so the best draft of the day was PSG's draft. It was Ornn, Kindred, Syndra. They had the Rakan. I'm a big fan of these simple team fight drafts that have very hard engage. And we saw that it was a really easy game for them. All they did was they went 5 mid and they looked for these fat engages, really easy picks. These kind of comps do really well in play-ins because they're not tricky. They're just really to the book League of Legends. And I think any team in the world can set up these compositions and do well on them. So that was great. And on the opposite side, they were playing versus the worst draft of the V3 Galio, which I am not a believer in Galio unless you have the Jarvan or you have the Camille, which is the best case scenario. Camille Galio is a great combo, but I couldn't see a way for the Galio to make use in that game. So I wasn't a fan of that. V3 is out now, so it's unfortunate we can't see what else they wanted to do with those Galio comps, but they really needed to bring it up and have some better synergy with their champions.
What I love about that draft on the side of PSG is that you actually have the double ranged heavy damage in Kindred and the Senna that serve as defensive tools against the dive, but also with so much CC between Ornn, Syndra, and Rakan, you're really stuck between, do I buy Merc Treads and diminish the CC, which is definitely going to kill me, or Tabbies, or else the Kindred and Senna are just going to completely wear us down. So it's between a rock and a hard place for your boot itemization.
Very much a polarizing experience for that draft, depending on what side you look on. Crumbs, when it comes to the actual gameplay itself, what do you think were the standout in the good and bad ways?
Okay, so there were plenty of standouts, but with one of the best team fights was actually this one from Unicorns 11. It started off with quite a few picks onto the Volibear from Camille's hookshots, and it's important because Twitch was stealth, so Volibear did not know that Twitch was there, and then he goes for a flank, which he finds a freaking 1v3. Look at the minimap, the rest of the team isn't here. This is why I was saying this is one of the Unicorn games are some of the best to watch, but then you see the worst. This game started with their solo laners running it down, quite literally. Dying there, and look at him staying. This was so easy. You've never seen an easier solo kill. That's
a big question mark.
Right? You started losing the lanes this hard, and so with what Alorum is saying, jungle div starts with lane div, you're in a state of panic. What is happening? But Twitch shows up. Gadget still's got enough tools in his arsenal to turn the team fights around.
As Quickshot said during that cast, go Gadget, Twitch rat. And can we just put a little love on Gadget for some of the things that we've seen out of him throughout play-ins? Because coming with the Twitch,
He's been
the
doing great.
Orianna, the Swain, Alorum, when just from a viewing perspective, have you enjoyed getting to see a bit of that differentiation in the bot lane?
Well, having the diversity of being able to play these mages along with AD carries is something that every coach in the world loves to see. If you have flex picks such as Orianna that can go mid, and my god, my AD carry can play Orianna on a Worlds level, I'm just so happy. Flex picks are the best thing to ever have in a draft of League of Legends, so really well done by Gadget that he's able to play multiple mages and AD carries.
That's that two-parter, right? It's wanting to have a pick that can flex, but then players that can actually make that possible. And one thing to make play possible within the game of League of Legends is not just making a standout play yourself, but offering those assists for those big plays to happen. So let's take a look at one of the biggest assists for our assist of the day, presented by State Farm. In this case, it's 2 days in a row that we have an Alistar play, and what do you know? Plenty of engage that we have seen, Crumbs.
Oh, watch the flank. No one knows he's here. Surprise! 3-man pulverize. So good. Oh, you just love to see that. This is what makes Alistar a great champion. It's the flanks. It's not approaching from the regular side with your team. It's that they don't know that there's a charging bull coming at them.
And Crumbs knows a good Alistar when he sees one, having played with the legend Kiwi Kid himself.
Yes, certainly. The legendary Alistar Kiwi. But actually, my fondest memories of Alistar go way back to AP Alistar in the jungle, where you go just cheese
Season
level
1
2.
stuff.
Yeah, cheese level 2, just show up to mid lane and suddenly you just get free kills, or you lane him in mid lane as AP. That to me still holds a dear place in my heart.
What wonderful moments of nostalgia. So much that was cooking up back in the day. We do have more cooking up in Worlds, of course. Let's take a look at what will be going down tomorrow. Today, we ended up wrapping up this portion of the round robin for Group B, and tomorrow it's all about Group A. Alorum, I think at the top of the day, we're going to get a pretty amazing one with Supermassive versus Team Liquid, both currently undefeated.
Oh yeah, and I think maybe I'm a little biased here as my fellow North American natives, but I would love for Team Liquid to do very well, and I think they have been one of the best teams in play-ins so far. They've been great, especially Tactical, his first year at Worlds. Pop-off performance from Twitch, and I cannot wait to see Tactical versus Zeitnot, because Zeitnot historically has been an incredible AD carry from that region, and I think it's going to be the battle of the bot lanes tomorrow.
That's a big one. And for me, you got Mad Lions versus Legacy. I feel like INTZ is pretty much already out of the question here. Maybe they can turn it back if a miracle run happens, but Mad Lions, I feel they're the same as Rainbow Seven, which is a team that is very young and needs to get over their nerves. If they can actually give us the performance that they do at home at the LEC, we might actually get a really powerful roster contending for the top spot, because Papera Supermassive, they've got tons of veterans. Nerves do not affect them. You've got guys that have been playing around for practically decades now.
With the single round robin, you have very little time to shake off those nerves. We had such an extension of a day today because of the scrappy nature of Group B. If you had to compare tomorrow to today, Alorum, do you think we're in for that same type of treat?
I think we're in for an even bigger upsets tomorrow. Actually, I don't want upsets to happen, because then that means Team Liquid will lose. They're just the best. So never mind. No upsets. I'm hoping for a straight shot Team Liquid just dominating all their opponents. I think they're going to be great games, so everybody tune in to watch Team Liquid win. But, you know, they'll be good. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow.
Crumbs, any bold predictions to offer before we close things out here today?
Not a prediction, but a point on Team Liquid that I think has been noticed throughout the whole year. In fact, I noticed it pretty much when Corey JJ started to say how they played around Samsung, which was the criticism towards Team Liquid was, you guys play too slow. Your style is too slow. Boring, more, too slow, too slow. Come Worlds. Turns out the only requisite to being good was having a style in the first place. The fact that they actually have a way to play the game that they've been working on for the entire year has turned out to be the biggest strength for this team. You know what you're getting out of them. They know what they need to do when they have to be where the matchups have to be allocated, and it's just cool to see that they held true to their vision and it could actually pay off.
If you don't believe our analysts, you can catch that at the top of the day tomorrow with day 4 of Worlds here in the play-in stage. But as far as day 3 goes, that is going to do it for us here on the Worlds Cooldown presented by State Farm. On behalf of myself, the casters, and all of the remote broadcast crews around the world, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you watching, and until next time, good morning, afternoon, evening, and good night.